AI industry is drowning in lawsuits, and the legal bills are piling up faster than they can count. While everyone's celebrating AI's breakthroughs, behind closed doors, there's legal disasters totally unfolding on these companies. Apple just got slammed with another copyright lawsuit. Anthropic settled for millions of dollars over stolen books.
And meanwhile, a company just signed a $17.4 billion deal. Are these lawsuits the beginning of the end for AI companies, or are we just beginning to see the emergence of what is going to be over trillions of dollars in spending just to get AI off the ground? Welcome back to our podcast. My name is Meet McKay. I am joined here by my father, Startup Hack, where we talk all things business, tech, finance. We love talking about this, and we've really enjoyed doing this podcast, and a lot of you have seemed to really enjoy it as well. And this week, we have a ton to dive into. So welcome back. Startup Hack, who are you, and why are you, why do you the guy to talk to about tech?
So we love to build custom software for companies as well as to train software developers. I've been a software developer for over 25 years and worked for over a decade as a fractional CTO.
Awesome. Sweet. So we're going to go ahead and start quick here because there's a ton to cover. I want to go ahead and cover this $17.4 billion acquisition by Microsoft. Let me go ahead and get my screen up really quick right here. Okay, cool. So Nebius signed a $17.4 billion AI infrastructure deal with Microsoft, and their shares have jumped over 50%. You can see where the market hasn't quite opened yet, but in the pre-market, they're up 53%. They're about to trade for $100 a share. So the magnitude of this deal is pretty crazy. But anyways, the deal is worth $17.4 billion over a 5-year term, sending the shares over 50%. We talked about that. Microsoft may also acquire additional services capacity under the deal, bringing the total contract to $19.4 billion. Nebius' core business involves providing NVIDIA graphics processing units and AI cloud as services. Nebius offers AI developers the computing, storage, managed services, and tools they need to build, tune to run their AI models with the help of its cloud software architecture and in-house design hardware. So, what's your gut reaction when you hear something like this, Startup Hack?
So this deal underscores the surging demand for high performance AI compute, right? As companies invest heavily to try to bolster their AI infrastructure. Now, AI compute is something that everybody from small businesses to large businesses are trying to figure out how to fund, right? I've talked about it here on my channel. I show you how to do a DIY AI server for under $500 because everybody's trying to build something that's going to run these LLMs. And in order to do that, the cheapest way to do it is GPUs and the most efficient way. So power per watt, GPUs are your most efficient way of providing this. So when you see a big group like this, Microsoft's trying to figure out how to compete with somebody like Elon, who's spending billions of dollars amassing every AI GPU compute that they can get to help bolster their AI. So this is really funding like the way forward. And so it's a wild west to power grab every single bit of GPU compute you can get.
So maybe enlighten me a little bit on this. So where does Nebius fit? Because Nebius is providing the GPU infrastructure, so they're buying the chips from NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is still winning. I thought maybe this would be like a replacement for NVIDIA and people were going to start competing, but no, this just boosts NVIDIA even more. Is this basically Microsoft's own startup pack with like, hey, we want you guys to handle everything from GPU to infrastructure to storage, like power consumption. You guys take care of that and we'll just pay you guys a good chunk of money. Is that what it is? Just a middleman?
100%. And it allows Nebius to be able to focus on GPU hosting. See, Microsoft's been really good at hosting cloud hosting for a long time, their Azure infrastructure. But cloud hosting and GPU hosting are two different things. The other part to this, too, is this is going to their GPUs get older faster than cloud hosting does. That's one of the other problems of GPU hosting right now is your lifespan on a GPU chip is about 5 to 6 years. In cloud hosting, you can keep a set of cloud servers around for a decade, right? And so, and then actually a lot of times they'll even put them out to pasture as like low cost or discount hosting, right? And especially in Microsoft, where they have things like with Azure, where they have different type of services like functions, where you can actually just get free compute. Essentially, they can keep servers around for up to 20 years. GPUs, their absolute maximum lifespan is 7, but really probably more like 5. And so, this is a smart move by Microsoft because they don't have to build; it's a buy versus build.
Got it. and it shifts just the burden of responsibility of having to maintain all of that hardware and the security around it. And yeah, so I think it's smart. And I mean, this company is, let me see their market cap really quick, because it's
One so
obviously,
one an interesting thing about the hosting here is in cloud hosting, security is of utmost performance. GPU is very passive. The data goes through it, it gets processed, and it comes out. You don't store GPU hosting or the data on the GPU.
yeah,
And so with that, it actually does make it a simpler model for them to be able to focus on that. Whereas Microsoft is under, as we recently see from Pete Hegseth, Microsoft's under a ton of scrutiny for what data goes through their servers.
yeah. And I mean, I don't think that that's a bad thing, but I mean, customers are also just pumping these LLMs full of data, which we'll talk about. There's just a bunch of data mismanagement on all sides of the coin. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Nebius Group is currently at I believe this is already factoring in the deal, maybe not $15 billion, but if it's not, then it'll put them at over $20 billion. So yeah, like 22. So yeah, a huge deal for that company. I believe it's an Amsterdam company, which is interesting that it's not a US. Like, obviously you would think that if you wanted to be in the good graces of the White House, you would do this deal with the White House, with a US based company.
So this could be this is for the European and Eastern Bloc hosting. This may not have anything to actually do with the US hosting. I'd have to dig further into the deal to find out. But this also may be a move because they don't actually want to build elsewhere, that this is actually just a way to even tell the Trump administration, hey, look, we're not going to invest in other places. We're just going to contract it. And that
Yeah.
shows actually a sign of wanting to invest in the US.
Yeah, no, cool. So we'll keep our eyes on that acquisition, but I think that's just one of these huge deals that you're seeing. I mean, you're seeing Elon buying tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of H100s. And then I want to go ahead and shift a little bit to talking about Mark Zuckerberg and how much he's spending on AI infrastructure, because this is just a war of spending. And how long we can keep this up, I don't know, but it's fascinating. So let me go ahead and share my screen really quick here. So let me add a little bit of context. In the reason that I want to show this is because we kind of catch Mark in a little bit of a white lie here. Let me show this. So he tells President Trump that, hey, we plan to invest at least 600 billion in data centers and AI infrastructure. To put that in perspective, the deal that we just read with Microsoft was 17 to 19 billion. And Mark Zuckerberg at this White House dinner just comes out and it's like, hey, we're going to drop 600 billion by 2028. Like, that's a very large number. And to put it in perspective, Meta's market cap currently is 2 trillion, right around 2 trillion. So like, that's still a significant percentage of the company as a whole. So he is putting everything that he has into AI. And this is the clip that I want to go ahead and share. It's Mark caught in a little bit of a hot mic moment. So let me go ahead and let's see if you can hear this.
Thank you for the question. Thank you very much, everybody.
So listen closely to what Mark tells Trump after the press is being whisked away.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What's your reaction on Florida changing its vaccines?
I'll comment on that later. Thank you very much.
Okay, watch right here.
Sorry, I wasn't ready to do a for announcement.
He said I wasn't
sure what number you wanted to go in.
Well,
So Mark is starting to throw around these numbers that he does. The reason I share this is because these promises of what they're going to spend, to me, that kind of just totally invalidated it. Like, if you say it on an earnings call or if you say it on something, then you're kind of held to it. But here you see Mark lean over to Trump and say, sorry, which number did you want me to use? Did you want me to go higher or lower? Like, which number was it? And to me, it's just a competition of puffing chest. Like, because right here you have Bill Gates. This is just as you don't see this picture very often. You have Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Nadala, Tim Cook. And so it's just a competition of who can spend the most money on AI and who can make this guy smile the biggest right now. And I mean, look at that smile. He just invested $600 billion into America. Which president wouldn't like that? But anyways, that to me was just kind of like, wow, are we going to see the $600 billion ever come to fruition? And is it just at the whims of kind of who makes Trump smile the biggest? I don't know. What's your take on that?
I mean, the spending around AI right now is ridiculous. I mean, and it's crazy. Like literally, we've never seen this. I mean, they're spending amounts that are amounts to more than countries' whole GDPs right now, and it's eventually the music's got to stop. But for Zuckerberg, that doesn't necessarily true. He's been burning that kind of cash on his AI spending, which was VR spending before that, which was metaverse spending before. Like he's been spending that kind of cash, and he's been able to for a long time. So to him, 600 billion, even if it were true, over the next 3 years isn't, or call it 4 years, isn't that much, right? And so that sounds like a lot to everybody else, but 120 billion to Zuck isn't that much.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been burning 80, and I mean, if you're going to tell me the VR or metaverse spending ever was going to amount to even possibly the chance that AI spending could come to, or what it could amount to, right? Because those were never going to bring in that much revenue. But the chance of AI bringing in that much revenue actually has a potential, or at least the market thinks so.
Totally. Yeah, I just thought that was really funny that Zuck's like, which number did you want me to use?
Yeah.
So that just cracks me up. Okay, cool. So I want to go ahead and dive into our next segment here regarding lawsuits with Apple and Anthropic. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen right here. Okay. So this is something that you've talked about for quite a while, but the Judge Skewer's $1.5 billion Anthropic settlement with authors in pirated books case over AI training. A federal judge on Monday skewered a $1.5 billion settlement. The Anthropic nearly 500,000 books had been illegally pirated to train chatbots, raising the specter that the case could still end up going to trial. So it looks like that case, they're not going to be able to settle it, and the judge wants us to go to trial.
So the thing with Anthropic is kind of hysterical, right? The CEO of Anthropic left OpenAI when GPT-2 was released because he said they were doing evil things and he should leave. So he temper tantrumed and threw a fit and walked out, and then went and started Anthropic, which was going to be the safe company. We were going to be the one that was doing right for the world and keeping AI from being the big evil thing. And immediately turns around, BitTorrents, literally the entire internet of copyrighted works, and then trained on it. And Anthropic, Claude is one of the best models out there because of this. And so because of this, so that's kind of the background to this. So now, again, I talked about the music's stopping a little bit here, right? They got slapped with a $1.5 billion lawsuit. Originally, they were going to settle for that, which kind of tells you that if they're willing to settle for that, they know how bad it could get. And instead, the judge says, no, this isn't enough. This isn't enough damages for what you guys did. And the judges say, no, this needs to go to trial, because, and it's tough because there's just a whole bunch of legal wrangling here that isn't going to stop these guys. And so, it's somebody who's trying to get these executives to pay, because just on one hand, you have Zuckerberg saying, sure, we'll spend 600 billion on this thing, which is now built on the back of copyrighted material, and, been breaking the law. And now suddenly, 1.5 billion, sure, we'll pay that. That'd be getting off easy.
Yeah. The proposed settlement would pay to authors and publishers $3,000 for the books that were covered by the agreement.
It's nothing.
Yeah. So these lawsuits are going to start happening. And I believe, let me pull it up really quick. I believe, funny enough, Apple got tangled into Apple similarly. Let me close this ad. Apple similarly got caught in a lawsuit over copyrighted books as well. By two authors who have accused the company of illegally using their copyrighted books to train its AI systems. And that's funny because it's like, okay, Apple, let's see what you're training. Show us, please. We would love to see it. But yeah, you're starting to see the music slow down a little bit, right? We were party rave music, and now it's starting to become a serious slow dance. Where's your partner? Who's going to help you get out of this? So this isn't. yeah, they don't have a number quite yet for how much this is going to cost Apple, but you're just going to start to see these people like, wait, what are you using for training? I mean, you saw OpenAI, they used that one actress's voice from Marvel, and she could have made a killing. She probably would have made more if she just licensed her voice to OpenAI, Scarlett
Yeah.
Johansson, rather than just telling them to stop using it, but that's her prerogative. But yeah, these companies are going to have to figure out a way to legally get data, and that's just I remember since I was young, you always told me the commodities data, and when you have X who has all their own data, billions and billions of input from users, and you have Facebook that has on par with just as much data as X, but maybe even more with pictures and images on their platforms. These social media companies, I think, are going to have a lot more room to wiggle than maybe Apple does, or Microsoft might even not. Well, Microsoft has a substantial amount of data, but
So
where's OpenAI going to get their data? Well,
so
then
So
to train.
Reddit actually is the largest source, over 50%. So people who there's hackers who'll go out and actually get the models to dump what their training sources are. It's not that hard to actually figure out where models are trained from.
Yeah.
And right now, as they've gone across this, this was something reported by TechCrunch as well as others. Over 50% of the current training data is actually coming from Reddit.
That's crazy. And is Reddit, from what you can tell, is Reddit okay with that?
So Reddit started to license that data to block bots to crawl it, and then Reddit has actually surged over the last couple of years by licensing that training data. They know that, and so and there's not a way for individual subreddits to be able to say yes or no they want to be allowed and to do the training. But that's where most of Reddit's source of income comes from now.
Yeah.
But that really, so it's also kind of terrifying at the same time that it's like the future intelligence of the world is powered off of Reddit, which kind of terrifies me.
Yeah, that is that is a little scary. So yeah, where are you going to start to see people get their training data? Is it going to be Reddit, or what is OpenAI using for training data?
Well, and that's kind of the interesting thing is I think as people are settling into which platform they want to use, right? I actually know that if I'm going to use a heavy set of research that I want to go trail X, then I'm going to use Grok. If I'm going to use something, if I'm going to use Claude, I know I'm getting a heavily backed set of books, right? So that's why generally Claude is one of the better writers, right? Gemini, is obviously backed with a ton of Google data, right? So as you look at the various different things, what their training backing is going to make a huge difference depending on what you're using it for.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I agree. Okay, let me pull up this other story that I want to get your take on really quick. Let me see. This was actually, yeah, let me pull this up.
So while you're pulling that up, we can continue to talk on this and you can get that ready here. A lot of AI generated content is, what a lot of people are talking about, right? And for a long time, we were told, oh, well, as soon as AI can start to generate its own content, you've heard Elon Musk talk about this a lot too. As soon as AI can generate its own content, that's when you're going to see it become self-learning. They've disproved that over and over again. And that's why the key thing about what these AI, who's going to win in the AI race comes down to what training data they can get. And so there's been a common lie that, oh, well, AI will eventually be able to start to generate its own data. And you've even heard this from us too. And that's patently false because it's been proven over and over again that AI that is trained on its own data becomes worse.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like the copy machine example.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, I think the scrounge for training data is going to continue to be a point that we'll talk about, and I think that the owners of these copyrighted materials aren't going to just lay down, and they shouldn't. Okay, so I want to go ahead and jump into this story really quick. Let me share this. Okay, so this happened yesterday. The former head of security for WhatsApp filed a lawsuit on Monday accusing Meta of ignoring major security and privacy flaws that put billions of messaging app users at risk. The latest in a string of whistleblower allegations against the social media company. Let me see. that the lawsuit is claiming that thousands of WhatsApp and Meta employees could gain access to sensitive user data, including profile pictures, location, group memberships, and contact lists. Meta, which owned WhatsApp, also failed adequately to address hacking of more than 100,000 accounts each day and rejected his proposal for security fixes, according to the lawsuit. Is this something that's is this just a disgruntled employee, or do you think this is something that is going to be a lot bigger of a deal?
So, the irony here is that Meta was originally one that's, Mark Zuckerberg's been known to say many times, well, everything's going to be known on the internet. It's all about transparency and everything's out there unless it's something he doesn't want people to know. And in this kind of a case, to see that surprise, there's, nefarious things going on inside of Meta isn't terribly surprising. And so, this is ultimately a problem about Meta potentially violating federal whistleblower protection laws. And that's a bigger thing. So when the founder must be outside of his agreement, because definitely, in the acquisition, paperwork, there was something telling him he couldn't do this kind of stuff. So he's obviously, outside of that. But the timing here is terrible for Meta, as they've already been under intense regulatory scrutiny all over the world. So if this is proven true, it could trigger massive fines and force Meta to overhaul their entire security culture, which could be huge.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see. We're already going to see just a lot of companies get in trouble for how they're handling data. Both companies with what their employees are putting into these LLMs and what these companies are doing with that said data. And I mean, Sam Altman's one of the first ones to say, like, don't put private stuff in these things, because if we get subpoenaed, we will have to give these up. And
even less than subpoenaed, you can hack them and get them to dump them.
Yeah, which is extremely unfortunate. Did you hear that the Intel CEO left?
I hadn't heard much about this. I haven't been tracking Intel just recently. Ever since the U.S. government decided to take a part in them, I'm not super interested in Intel.
Yeah.
But no, this is big news, because this would definitely be a hard shakeup for Intel, which has lost almost half their company at this point.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with because TechCrunch is even pointing out here that this news is just a few weeks after the government announced a plan to take a 10% stake in Intel. The company dropped below 50% of ownership of its foundry unit. These aren't the only leadership changes. Do you think this is the beginning of the positive regime change for Intel, or do you think this is just the beginning of the end for Intel?
How do you fix Intel? I haven't heard a single person, either armchair quarterback or somebody inside of Intel talk about it. And I have multiple friends at Intel who have gotten laid off in one of their rounds of layoffs. And, I can't tell you, what should be one of the American powerhouses is a laughingstock. And even inside their own company, I've asked multiple people who were in decent positions, inside the company, and all of them say there's no fixing Intel. Like it's dead. It's a dead man walking. Everybody knows it. Each of the pieces are going to be sold off for parts. And what nobody can really quite understand is where it fits in for the U.S. government to buy in a part of it. Nobody can really figure out that strategy. I can't even quite figure out, and I'm generally pro-capitalism, but I can't really figure out what in the world the U.S. government would possibly do with Intel, or to even try to make it better. Yeah,
no, it raises some serious questions. You said that Intel would be a dead man walking, but it's a $113 billion company. Like, how does, I don't know where you take Intel from here, but yeah, it's pretty much kind of, they're not anything flashy right now.
Well, and so Broadcom just recently announced a huge, partnership with OpenAI, right? And so I'm wondering if maybe Intel was trying to play into something with that, and maybe that was part of why the U.S. government was going to buy a stake, was with the hope that OpenAI would, play, and that there would be some partnership, and then it could be, hey, Intel's going to be back on the rise because OpenAI is going to partner with it. But it seems kind of sus that right now that Broadcom just announced this deal with OpenAI, right? And then Intel loses its CEO all around the same time that the U.S. government's announcing that they're a part of it. There's kind of this trail of things, and the layoffs at Intel just keep happening. And one of the interesting things right now is layoffs for most companies actually send their stock price up. Intel's one of the few that's not true.
Got it. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Intel, but it's definitely maybe the CEO didn't agree with the government's take either, and I think it was a she, wasn't it?
No, it's a
Um,
he.
oh, I was thinking of who's the she that is a GPU CEO? I forgot her name. Anyways, all right, sweet. I want to cover one more thing with you and kind of get your thoughts on it. It's not really related to AI, but it's related to tech and a guy that we like to follow. Let me go ahead and share this really quick. So Elon Musk Monday morning announced that SpaceX is either acquiring or just had a $17 billion partnership with
So they're
EcoStar.
acquiring.
They are acquiring.
So they're acquiring the whole stream, the whole band, right? They're actually acquiring a portion of the 5G band. So rather than partnering with all of these companies, which they were doing before, they're actually acquiring the whole band for $17 billion. So they basically just purchased it and they're able to use it without having to partnership. And so this is going to be a big play. Where this is going to be a big play is satellite to phone. So Elon wants to be able to build satellite to phone, and he's been partnering with T-Mobile on this. And so this probably hit T-Mobile stock. I'm curious to see if T-Mobile stock went down on the announcement for this, because they just lost a bunch of money from Exxon from SpaceX on this. But
you can see where the announcement was. Yeah, most mobile carriers did this. And the thing that is going to be interesting to me is Elon has always said, like, we do not want to build a phone. Like, building a phone is such a nightmare. But do you think this is kind of paving the way for that? Like, are they going to have to build their own phone?
Well, and what will be interesting too is, can he build a phone that has his AI 5 or AI 6 chip in it?
And here's what I kind of admire about Elon. He had his time with Trump, and he had his quote unquote, if somebody wants to call it a distraction or being a patriot, doing his public whatever. He had his time with the White House. But do you know who wasn't at that dinner with all of those tech giants? Elon wasn't. But guess who? I mean, you can say this about Microsoft. Microsoft had that big deal, but Elon is still out here trying to win. And he's not necessarily at dinners trying to puff his chest saying, hey, we're going to spend this much. He's making these quiet acquisitions that I wonder if this is just a bigger play to challenge Apple. Like, I wonder if he wants to go after encrypted texting, like a real, like, Grok integrated assistant in the phone. He has said many times that he does not want to get into phones, and I truly believe him. It does not sound like a desirable business to be in. But if he could have a Starlink phone that has Grok implemented, I don't know.
Yeah, let's line up the pieces that he's got now. He's got AI 5 and AI 6 chips, which he just recently talked about and said we're going to be the best chips ever, right? He's now got the band for 5G. He has Grok, in XAI, which now, Tesla's announced, the board, they put to the board, Tesla board, to vote to be able to invest, Tesla to invest into XAI. He definitely, SpaceX is still private, so it can invest wherever it wants to. So the cross between all of these companies is definitely shaping up, to be something big. And he is investing his own. He didn't go partner with somebody like Intel, who frankly, I don't know who would, but instead he's partnered with Samsung with Samsung to build the AI 5 and AI 6 chip. So it is an interesting shape to see if there is something coming out of the works here where he is trying to go at the phone, and definitely, of course, something different, because, to be able to advertise a phone that's never offline, a phone that has, integrated Grok, right? So if he's that excited about it, now think about Grok that's on your phone, literally on your phone, not going to the cloud.
And to me, this is I kind of am, it's kind of crazy to think about. He just sued Apple because he thinks that they're being political with their App Store rankings or how they're advertising OpenAI versus Grok. And he is pretty tired of it. And I think that he's also seeing this hole he could be seeing this hole in the market for Apple's latency to a lot of this AI stuff. And I think today that they have the Apple event, they're just going to announce the lighter iPhone. Cool, whoop-de-doo. I don't think we're going to hear any major AI progress, probably just an Apple Intelligence revamp, whatever. But I think, I hate to say it, but it'd be crazy if he did make a phone and we did see Apple the iPhone start to become the BlackBerry a little bit, and have Elon would be the person to make a competitor to that. So I don't know. I give that like a 10% chance of happening?
I don't know.
It'd be a cool story though.
It's an interesting point. Is Apple at their BlackBerry moment? Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, Apple. I don't know.
Is
It
Apple
could
at
be.
their BlackBerry moment right now? Because that's an interesting question.
It feels silly to call a $2 trillion company a BlackBerry moment, just because they're like so
But-
widely used.
But
it
RIM
could-
was almost that big comparatively at its peak. Not that large. I mean,
Yeah.
for the time. Let's talk
For the time.
percentage. Let's talk percentages, right? Because
What was the company?
two-
Was it? What
it's
was the
RIM.
company?
RIM, Research in Motion, was the BlackBerry. And at their peak, I know they were something like a $600 million company, which at the time, remember, companies just weren't as big as they are today.
$67 billion in 2007.
Okay. So, but now take inflation, take the conversion, all of that. That was a pretty big company. Not 2 trillion. I get it. But at the same time, no company had hit $2 trillion market cap at the time. So 67 billion at the time was pretty big.
To your point, the largest company was ExxonMobil at 425 billion. So they were 25% of the largest company. So
Yeah.
rough.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Is it, were they an Apple? No. But you have to understand they owned that space. Like if you had mobile email at the time, because that was all we had was mobile email, you had a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
And it was a status symbol. You actually wore it on your belt. I know I still get teased for it, but like you wore it on your belt at the time because it was partly a status symbol as much as anything.
Totally. Sweet. Well, there was a ton of stories and we could have kept talking for a long time. We actually got to talk a lot this weekend. And it was a ton of fun. And I'll actually see you in like 4 or 5 days. So we'll probably chat some more and bring our next podcast Tuesday morning. But tell people if they want to come find your channel, where can they find you?
So if you need help with custom software, check out startuphack.com/Spencer. If you're interested in training as a registered apprentice with Startup Hack, check out startuphack.com/jobs. And otherwise, we'll catch you guys next week.
Perfect. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks.
Bye.